Hey everyone, Jay here, and time for another Intro to Python lab. This is lab 8, and we'll be talking about if statements. And I have a few different ways about writing if statements, how to kind of organize the logic in there. But let's talk about how to write just a plain if statement to begin with. Okay. Um, let's put an example here. Let me, there we go. If statement. Okay, so keyword starts with if, okay? And then if I have a condition that, let's say if, let's make a variable to start with, right? Let's call it x equals 0. Okay, if x is greater than 1, okay, so that's my condition statement. If x is greater than 1, if that evaluates to true, I have my colon at the end, perform task here. Let's do x plus x equals x plus 1. Put a space in there, okay? And that's it. So that's my if statement. Notice how everything within the if statement is tabbed over one time, okay? Other programming languages, you'll have curly braces around the content in there. In Python, you're going to tab over one tab, and that is within the if statement. So if that evaluates to true, if x is indeed greater than 1, then it will do all the content that's within there, and when it finishes, it will tab back out and continue running your program. Okay. There is a keyword that where if you are creating some logic but you're leaving it empty for some reason, maybe you have an if and an else and you want to write the else but you want to leave it empty. Python has a keyword called pass because Python really requires you to have something in there. So they created this keyword called pass. You can write in there and then it won't do anything. It'll just pass. We'll carry on. We'll use that quite a lot in the future because I really like to have my ifs and my else's. I don't like to omit any of those things. So I'll always have it. And sometimes I'll have in a longer if statement an if ladder, they're called in Python, which we'll get to those. Sometimes I'll have things that I don't really want to do anything, but I still want to write it down for readability for future me. When I'm looking back at my code, I want to see that I've accounted for it, but there's nothing special that needs to happen. So I'll put that in there. So that's the example if statement. We'll get rid of that. Okay, comment that out. So now that we know the basic syntax of an if statement, you have keyword if, you have your condition, you have your semicolon, your colon, and then everything within it should be tabbed over in Python. If we want to put an else on there, or pass, right? If we want to put an else in here, we just put an else at the end, and then we put our tasks that we're going to do inside of there as well. So if this is true, do this stuff. Else, if it wasn't true, do this other stuff. Sometimes it's going to be nothing, right? Sometimes you want to do this if it's true, and you don't want to do anything in the other case when it's not true. But it's always available to us. So that's the syntax, and that's not part of the lab, right? We just want to get that out of the way. Now that we have the syntax, let's look at a few different ways of thinking about how we want to write our if statement. So my first one, I'm going to get some input from the user. I'm going to ask the user, please type Y for yes or N for no. Okay. And then I'm going to check, did they put in y or did they put in n, right? Or later on, did they put in something else? Okay, so my first option that I have here is, there's my input. I have input yes. Okay, please enter y for yes, n for no. And it's going to get saved in here, whatever they wrote. Okay, hopefully you and I are writing this and using this. We're going to just put in y for yes and n for no. But we need to look at uppercase y and lowercase y. Okay, so if input yes is equal to lowercase y, or if input yes is equal to uppercase y, print received yes. Else, print received no. This is great. This is a check for yes. If it was yes, received yes. If it was anything else, received no. Sometimes this is the if statement we want to write. Sometimes we want to check for the positive, and then anything else we're going to regard as a negative result and receive no. Okay? So this is one way to do an if statement, check for the positive. Next way is check for not the negative. Okay, it's a little bit weird, right? Instead of checking for yes, we're going to check for not no. And anything that's not no, we're going to consider as yes, right? So same thing. This is input not no. Same statement. Please enter y for yes, n for no. If input not no is not equal to lowercase n, and input not no is not equal to uppercase n. Okay, so if my input is not equal to the lowercase n and it's not equal to the uppercase n, see the big difference from the previous one? The previous one was or. It could be either lowercase y or uppercase y. Both are yes. In this case, it has to be neither. Okay, it has to be not the lowercase n and not the uppercase n. And if that's what they input, then yes. And if they did not, if it happened to be either one of those, then no. Okay, so we've looked at, did they input the positive or did they input not the negative? Okay, those are opposite things, right? We have a lot of options in programming. Here's two of them so far. And the last one I want to show you, and all of this is part of your lab, so you're going to turn all of that in, assuming you're in my class watching this video. Last one is, oh, I need to get some space here. There we go. This is check for yes, check for no, and whatever's left is invalid. Okay, so input yes, no, or invalid. That's my new variable. Please enter y for yes, n for no. Nothing changed there. Now I'm going to do kind of like the first one, but multiple times. I'm going to say if the input is equal to lowercase y, or if the input is equal to uppercase y, received yes. Else, if ELIF, notice this one's a little bit different. So this is a chain of if statements. If this one, if all this, or actually if either or one of these is true, then they put in yes. So if the user input lowercase y or uppercase y, that's a yes. Else if the input was a lowercase n or an uppercase n, received no. And then a trailing else at the end, received invalid. Okay, so now I'm checking for multiple things in a row. And you can make this, if you have a really long option of things that you can put in, you can just if, else if, else if, else if, else if, and you can just keep running that. The only limit to how many times you can do that is how many times you're going to type it and how much memory does your computer have. That's it. That's the limit. copy and paste, right? Write it once, copy and paste a few times, then copy and paste all of it multiple times, right? The limit is how many times do you want to write this and how much memory does your computer have? It will do all of it. Okay, so once more, let's look at what we have here, and then let's start looking at the output and see what we got. And we'll run it a couple of times with different inputs, okay? So the first one is, does the user type the positive result? Yes. The next one is, does the user type not the negative result? Not no, okay? And then the next one, we're going to check for both, and anything else is considered invalid. Okay, now let's have a look at our output section. Here we are. So let's run this, and I'm going to run it a few times. I'm going to put all yeses, and I'm going to do it again with all no's, and I'm going to do it again with all something else, and see what how our results are different. Okay. Okay, so please enter Y for yes, N for no. The first one is it positive? Put in Y, receive yes. Please enter Y for yes, N for no. The second one is it not negative? So I put in Y, yes. All right, now the third one is we're going to check for yes, we're going to check for no, and anything else is invalid. So I put in Y for yes, yes. Okay, let's run this again. I'm going to do all no's now. Place Y for yes, N for no. Receive no. Okay, so the first one is it positive? This was not. Everything else is considered no. The second one, is it not negative? So I'm put N in. Receive no. Okay, it was negative, therefore it fell down to the else. And the third one, it checks for all three things. Received no. So it checked for, is it a yes? No, it wasn't. Is it a no? Yes, it was. Received no. One more time, I'm going to put in an invalid response for all of them. Okay, so I'm going to put in I. Remember, the first one says, is it yes? Everything else is going to be considered no. Receive no. Now I'm going to put in I again on the second one. The second one is it not no? Everything else is going to be considered yes. Received yes. Okay, it wasn't an N, so it has to be a yes. And then the last one, I'll put an I in. Remember, this one actually counts specifically for yes and for no, and then everything else is invalid. Received invalid. Okay, so all of these are fine if statements. It just depends on what is your purpose and what kind of inputs and outputs do you have and what are you looking to get. Okay, so all these are totally fine, and you're going to use all of them at some point. It just depends on which organization, which logic structure you need to create. So let's look at our code one more time. This is what I want you to copy down and turn in if you're taking my class this semester. All right, so copy all of this down. Here's the first one, pause the video. Here's the second one, pause and copy. And here's the third one, pause and copy. All right, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.